I was doing a free discovery call with one of our subscribers here, and it was really nice. He said he'd watched all the videos and he's learned so much, and it's really impacted his life in a positive way. He said, but the one thing I don't know about you, Nakula, is your own story. How did you discover semen retention? Why did you start practicing? He's like, I've watched so many of your videos and you don't really share your own story. I thought, oh, really? I'm sure I've shared it in pieces or where I believe it's relevant. So I thought, you know what? I'll do a video. I'll share with you how I discovered the ancient practice of semen retention and sexual alchemy. Hi, my name is Nakula Das, and I help men master their sexual energy so you can become a powerhouse both in and outside the bedroom. I've also just launched a brand new training program helping coaches, healers, trainers develop six-figure and multiple six-figure businesses, just like I've done, teaching men all around the world how to transmute their sexual energy. And by the way, if you're interested in working with me, make sure that you go and take the free transmutation guide as a starting point. This way you can get inside that free program. You can get some more information and some tools that you can use right away to take full advantage of this practice of semen retention and alchemy. So how did I stumble onto this path? Because this is not something, in the list of courses to take and professions they give you when you sit in high school with your guidance counselor. Like, you'd be a great teacher. I know. I'm going to teach men how to just bang it out in the bedroom and then use all that energy to go live awesome lives. There's no course like that. So how did I come to do what I'm doing, and how did I get on this path? And I really say I stumbled onto it. I feel like it was a discovery, almost like maybe back in the day when, the explorers would discover new lands. It was like figuring out, wow, I've discovered a new land, a new realm within the world of consciousness, within the world of excellence, within the world of success, and some serious secrets of the universe on this path. And it started out with me getting introduced to the concept of sex transmutation through the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Now, I'm a huge fan of Napoleon Hill, and he's had an incredible impact on my life simply through his books, because before I was even an idea in my parents' mind, Napoleon Hill had passed on. But his legacy today still continues to grow, and I hope that my work continues to expand what he started many, many years ago. And in his book, Think and Grow Rich and the Laws of Success, he talks about the mystery of sex transmutation. He talks about its power, how as men mature and become more men, they become responsible men, they become more loving men, that their sexual energy shifts from a raw lust into a much more loving and even faith-based energy, where they have tremendous amounts of focus and tremendous amounts of ambition. And he talks about how the fact that our sexual energy and our ability to control it and transmute it, meaning to redirect it and focus it to higher aspirations, will give us the edge, will give us the extra frequency or vibration. It will lift us up to a new platform of thought and internal intelligence, inherent universal intelligence. It's going to unleash this within you, and it's the secret of so many great achievers. Now, in my own research, I've discovered so many men and so many different cultures have so many different belief systems around sex and sexuality, around its energy, and they're very conflicting. Don't do it. It's bad. It's sin. It's the worst thing on the planet. It's going to destroy your soul. To watch as much porn as possible, and you need to jerk off 21 times a month. If not, you might get cancer, right? Like, there's so many conflicting narratives and so many different ways of carrying out sexual experiences. Largely in the West anyways, or in the modern world, we look at sex as a very monogamous type of expression. In more ancient cultures or different cultures, they looked at it as more a polyamorous type of expression. Some people looked at it as like, what do you call like those, the Latter-day Saints? It's one man and multiple wives. I can't remember the name of that, slips my mind. But the point is, and there was many different types of relationships based around how we should express our sexual energy. And then within all of that, there seemed to be this inner teaching, these secret societies, these very exclusive knowledge about the power that came with sex. And I started discovering that as I started studying, getting fascinated with this idea of sex transmutation. And then through my path with the Hare Krishna community, learning about the importance of transcendence of sex when it comes to spiritual life, the importance of how this semen retention actually helps us with increased memory and creating the finer tissues of our body, how the ancient, and it's not really ancient because it still exists today, but Ayurveda is just not as prominent, and how yogis and the mystics, they looked at health, and semen retention was at the center of it, especially obviously for men. Sexual health was at the center of it. So I read the Kama Sutra, and the Kama Sutra is a fascinating book because I always thought the Kama Sutra was just simply positions. Here's, 101 positions you can try tonight type of thing. But there's actually a whole study there, and it's much more than just sex. It's attraction, it's seduction, it's relationships, it's health, it's how sex is related to health. And then that's when I got into the Taoists and, the monks and the mystics of the Wudang Temple and how they were using and cultivating sexual energy, and they had no moralistic perspectives of it. They simply were like, this is an energy and this is a very powerful energy. So they would learn to cultivate tons and tons of energy through non-ejaculatory sex, non-ejaculatory orgasms. So I got fascinated with this whole idea. The ancient Egyptians had rituals around sex, and the Druids, who became extremely powerful. In fact, there's some people that believe the modern day monarchy are Druids. That's their power. Their power came from sexual alchemy. The Yellow Emperor of China would sleep with multiple women a night, but never ejaculate, just to accumulate tons of energy and literally expand his aura, expand his energetic power and reach, and he became one of the most powerful men. King Solomon was slept with many different women and practiced the same. Steve Jobs, modern day giants like Steve Jobs, Winston Churchill, artists like Kanye West, and there's even rappers now talking about it, because this knowledge is starting to come out from just the elite circles, and it's starting to spread into different circles, and the need for this knowledge is really needed. And that's why I've staken the claim of I'm finishing Napoleon Hill's work, because Napoleon Hill, through the Great Depression, actually wrote Think and Grow Rich to pull people out of their poverty mindset and reteach them the inner principles of wealth, which was that it's reflective of how you think. More money means you need to shift the way you think, relate, and your energy around money. How do you feel about it? How do you relate to it? Well, he did that, and he mentioned sex transmutation, but he doesn't give a process for it. And so I became so fascinated with the subject because I was hearing about it from many different schools of thought, and some of them so conflicting, but all of them 100% agree that it's powerful. The confliction comes from the moralistic perceptions of the day and cultural influences, in my opinion. So now there's a moral question around it. But morality lives at the mind. If you're really interested in the truth, you're not really interested in morality. Morality is something that tends to come as you learn more truth, because you recognize, if I align myself with certain ways of being, things work really well. Morality or laws are generally given to societies that are more unconscious, because it's like, okay, we're going to all agree to relate to this certain activity in a certain way. And then the whole pack mentality comes where if you don't do it that way, you get ostracized, blah, 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 blah. And inherently there's this inner fear. And that's what I was facing when I was discovering the power of sex and the power of sexual energy, is this fear of being, well, this is going to be fucking weird. This is going to get me booted out of a few clubs. This is going to really rock the paradigm in which we live, because it challenges your beliefs around sex and sexuality and its uses. And I recognize that if you want to control someone, control their sex, control their sexual energy. You want to free someone, let it loose. And then you can have all the different moral discussions of what that means. And I think each individual person, when I got into like Osho's school of thought and how he presented sexual alchemy, I appreciated how he took the taboo away from it. Where in, like, for instance, with the Hare Krishna community, and I still chant the Hare Krishna mantra and all that stuff. It's not like I feel like I've left that. But what I recognized was largely, and there's many, even within any society, with any cultures, there's different schools of thought going on within there of how extreme or how not extreme are the teachings, how liberal or how conservative should we be. That's happening in every religion across the world. So this is not exclusive to one or the other. And I've spent time in different religions. That's why I'm like, okay, this is just it. This is more than religion. This is human behavior. This is human nature. So as I got into Osho's thought, he really helped me take the taboo away from it. And he presented some very progressive ideas that were definitely shocking. He challenged religion. He challenged modern day society and how we deal with sex or think about sex. And, you know, his ashrams became known as the sex ashrams. But if you get into his work and his teachings, there is a sexual component to it for sure. But it's so much more than that and so much deeper than that. So this is the rabbit hole that I've been on for the last, 4 or 5 years. And then a few years ago, put together a program teaching all the techniques that I had learned, the different meditations, the breath work, the mind control techniques, putting it into a full development program and coming out with this mission of bringing sexual alchemy and the knowledge around sex into the mainstream, giving it to the public, because the public needs it more now than ever. It's not just for the yogis and the mystics and the temples and the emperors and the super rich, because if, just like Napoleon Hill recognized, all the rich knew and still know to this day that it comes down to how you think, and they are protective of their thought processes. And that's why they have a very exclusive clubs, because they teach each other a certain way of thinking that produces a certain result. So you look at all these secret societies who have produced like multiple presidents. You think that's an accident? You think it's an accident that the same societies can produce some of the most powerful men in the world or powerful things in the world? No, it's because they have a certain amount of knowledge. They know something that you don't know. If anybody is doing something or has something that you want to do or have or experience, they simply know something that you don't know. It's ultimately comes down to knowledge. And so when you pursue a certain type of knowledge, you become empowered in that way. Now, largely, the empowerment around sexual energy has been suppressed to control people and to put them into boxes and to put them into different political type systems or societal type systems. If you want to just crack that and break that open, then you give the public a new type of knowledge, something that empowers them. And so that's what we're doing. So Napoleon Hill recognized the need to give the general public the ability to grow riches and to understand what it actually takes to have a wealthy, prosperous life. And so he distributed Think and Grow Rich. It's still the number one best-selling book in the self-help world. Unfortunately, 94% of self-help books or 95% of self-help books that are purchased are never read front to back. Because people don't really believe it. Just like many of you don't believe me. Yeah, but where's the science? You know, where's this? What proof do you have? What proof do you need? Try it. Go 90 days without busting a nut and see who you are. See how you think. See the standards in which you hold for yourself and therefore the world around you and that you interact with. See who you become. Be a scientist yourself. Discover it for yourself. Don't be passive in life. Why just read a scientific paper? And there's plenty of scientific papers. Both modern science has backed this up, and the benefits of semen retention and ejaculation regulation, as well as the ancient wisdom. Now, the ancient wisdom, though, in my opinion, is much more in depth because it acknowledges the energy or spiritual aspects of it, which is the real power. It's the real secrets, the real essence. How do you shift your consciousness and free yourself of the limitations and negative energies that you hold around sexuality? So many relationships suffer with jealousy and envy and all kinds of bullshit going down. And they don't recognize it's because they are suppressed. They are not expressive. They're not living, as in today's modern world, they're not living their best life, right? And when you're not living your best life as an individual, you're going to be miserable in other areas of your life. You're going to take that and start projecting it on those around you. But when you're on fire and you're living your best life, you're going to take that and project that around those around you. You're going to be like, why aren't you living? You'll be like, Oprah, you get a best life and you get a best life and you get a best life. Because you can give it to others because you have it. You can't give to something else what you don't have. And that's true for energy. Most people lack sex energy. It's just as simple as that, and they don't realize it. Look, but we're starting to discover it now at a biological level. People are freaking out because testosterone and sperm levels are down like never before. That's directly your sexual energy. It's down. So anyways, I went on this whole discovery journey, and I'm still on that journey. I put together a program, and over the last 2 years, we've reached over 2,000 men with our programs and events and trainings. We've trained men in these practices. I got made fun of like crazy for practicing semen retention by the mainstream media when I ran in the last Canadian federal election. It was a blessing. It was a beauty. It put semen retention and the subject in everybody's face, you know, for at least a good week or two, which we've been able to take and bank off that and create a whole movement from that. Thank you, mainstream media. Appreciate it. For the leg up. See, that's how it works when you're on the spiritual side. Everything that is meant to push you down just lifts you up because your consciousness is different. You know that everything is for you and not against you. But if you think the world is against you and your situation is against you and you can't see the blessings in it, it's because your consciousness is upside down. You're in the material. You're fully locked into the material atmosphere. Anyways, semen retention releases you of that. And that's why there's many theories out there that says that the elites don't want this information to be out in the mainstream because they don't want people to become kings in their own rights. They don't want them to be empowered. They don't want them to know how to lead their own societies and communities. Then they're not needed. The people in power need you to be dependent on them to stay in power. And that's another aspect that I discovered, that there's a whole military political aspect to sex. And unless we're awake to it, we're just going to be suffering from it. The widespread use of pornography is largely an attack on masculinity. It's a way for you to castrate yourself. If you want to make a dog docile, cut its balls off. You want to make a man, don't forget that you're an animal and you have very animalistic drives. And if you cut off the basic animalistic drive of sex, you're literally castrating that person. And they are easy to control, subdue. They become passive, weak, unable to be empowered, and therefore dependent on a system. That's why we're bringing this workout, because Napoleon Hill recognized to bring out riches and how to get rich and how to get wealthy so that you can off balance what's happening as far as wealth distribution in the world. And now what we're doing here is we're bringing out the power of sex to the mainstream world. And hopefully more than 94% of people that purchase the program take it and actually do it. We've got an entire system, and accountability system. So we know that 60 to 70% of our students graduate from the course. They finish the training and they implement it. helping them give up pornography, helping them stop masturbating, helping them have real sex lives that's fun, that's adventurous, that's full of pleasure and joy, and introducing the higher aspects of sexual alchemy, which is spiritual, which is about raising consciousness, which is about raising your energy level to new vibrations and tapping into elements of this universe that are available for you, but you'll never tap into if you're a low energy frequency being. All right, I hope that shares my story a bit. Reach out to me, connect if you're ready to take the next steps, subscribe, and make sure you share this video out. Help this information get out there.